Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to my channel. I am Monet and you're watching Life is Monet. I have a stack of books that have been sitting here for so long that I wanted to film an unhaul for. I just have not gotten around to it. So today is the day that I'm going to unhaul these books officially and remove them from my catalog and talk about the reasons why. So let's just get started. These are in no particular order at all. The first book that I'm going to be unhauling is The Appeal. I recently read this in a mystery vlog that I uploaded to see if I like murder mysteries, and this one was the most interesting by far, but I don't think that I need to own a physical copy because one, I would never reread it, two, it wasn't a favorite, and three, I mentioned in that vlog that I don't foresee myself recommending this to anyone, and so I'd rather it just kind of find its way mysteriously into the hands of another potential lover because I don't foresee me recommending it to anyone. The next book that I'm going to be unhauling is The Final Strife. I read the first book and I thought it was like okay. I think I gave it like 3 stars, but just the further that I've gotten away from reading this book, I've realized that I have no intentions on continuing with the series. And one of my friends recently read it and they liked the first book, but when they got to the second one, they were just like so disconnected. I haven't seen really good reviews about the second one. And so because I felt pretty meh about reading the first installment, I have this beautiful Waterstones edition, and I just feel like it should go to someone who really is going to love it more than I would. Because at this point, if I kept this copy, it would be simply just because of how beautiful this book is. And as much as I am a beautiful book collector, I have enough beautiful books and I don't need to waste space on my shelf with a book that I don't have fond memories of. Like, I want to have a beautiful book and I want to look at it and feel all the feels that I felt when I read it. And I just don't get that when I look at this. We're moving quickly. The next one that I'm going to be unhauling is also from that vlog of murder mystery, and that is The Word is Murder. This is the first book in a series, and I don't foresee myself owning the books in the series. Like, if I continued reading by this author, I think a lot of the books that he's written, well, he's written a lot, but some of the ones that I am interested in are all in a series. And if I'm not going to own at least 3 or 4 books in the series, then I don't see a reason to own a book in the series. This is also one that I don't think that I would recommend to someone because I don't know anyone in my life who's a fan of murder mystery. So yeah, I read it, it was cool, but I don't see a reason to own a copy. The next one is going to be a book that I've also read, and that is going to be The Love Scribe. I gave this 3.5 stars when I read it. I just personally did not like this book enough to own a copy and to like keep holding on to it. And so yeah, I want to unhaul it to someone else who is going to enjoy it more than me. That's big. That's really like my inspiration when I'm like unhauling books, is that if I think that someone else would enjoy it more than I did when I read it, then that's typically a reason for me to get rid of it. The next book is one that I was very excited about. I tried to read and ended up DNFing. I did not finish, and I don't foresee myself going back, and that is going to be The Justice of Kings. This book just failed to interest me in the amount of time that I had patience for it. So yeah, I think I just ran out of patience before the book grabbed me. I was really hoping to like it. I think it has a very beautiful cover, but I almost wish that we were following the actual main character because we're being told about his life and like what happened in a specific time period in his life by someone that he trained, and this person is older and they are looking back in the past, and that's just honestly too much of like a tertiary experience for me. I felt too far removed from the events in the story for me to feel connected to it. The next 2 are books that I just really held off on unhauling for a long time because I kept telling myself that I was going to read it. I kept telling myself that I was going to finish the duology. I tried reading it once or twice and I just kept stopping, and I just would not admit to myself that I was not going to finish the series. Like, I just kept lying to myself that I was going to go back, and it is time for me to be honest with myself, and that is going to be an absolutely remarkable thing and a beautifully foolish endeavor. It's time for me to be realistic. It's time for me to be fucking for real. As much as I keep telling myself that I'm going to read these books, they just keep getting pushed further and further down the damn TBR. And it's time for me to admit that I'm never going to get to them. So unhauling these as well. So the next 2 are also in a series, and I read the first book. I did not like the main character. I put the second book on my TBR no less than 3 times, and I just never got around to reading it. And so just being honest with myself that my interest is just it's too low for me to continue, and that is going to be The Henna Artist and The Secret Keeper of Jaipur. Yeah, I just am not interested enough, clearly, for me to pick up the sequel, even though I keep putting it on my actual TBR, and I'm still just not picking it up. I'm reading all the other books on my TBR, and then by the time I make my way to this one, I start mood reading. I skip right over it like it's not on my damn TBR. So clearly I am not interested. My brain is not interested. And so yeah, getting rid of these as well. The next two have been on my shelf for a while. I recently read book 1 with my patrons, and I don't foresee myself really continuing with the series. If I did, I don't see myself loving the series. Even if I made it to the end, I don't know. I just feel like I know enough to know that like this is just going to be a series that I read and I don't need to own all the books, and that is going to be The Bone Shard Daughter and The Bone Shard Emperor. I received this one as an ARC from Orbit, so I was lucky enough to get it for free, and then I got this one 50% off at my Barnes & Nobles when they had like a 50% off sale, and it took me forever to physically read it, and I read it, and I think I gave it like 3 stars. I had a lot of problems with it, mostly because the middle 80% of the book I feel like was just wasted. The most interesting part of the story was the first and the last 10%. Everything else in the middle was just a waste of my time, to be frank with you. So even if I, for whatever reason, did decide to pick up The Bone Shard Emperor and it was just so damn good, it might entice me to read the final book, but I don't see me loving this series. And I have enough series on my TBR. The next one is also from that murder mystery vlog. I feel like I'm just unhauling all of those books, and that is going to be The Thursday Murder Club. This is the only book in that vlog that I DNF'd and just did not finish. The main character was not interesting to me. The humor felt dry and flat for me, and everyone in the comment section told me that this book is one that they recommend to listen on audio because the narrator does a good job with actually making the main character seem interesting and to bring humor to her humorless jokes that were on page. And so if I ever did return to The Thursday Murder Club, it would probably be via audio. This is also another book in the series, and I don't foresee myself owning the series at all. And so yeah, no reason for me to own this copy. The next one is a book that I read and gave 3 stars and I have no attachment to, and that is going to be The Plot. The most interesting part of the story is literally the very end, and I just feel like it was in the wrong genre, and it just wasn't as interesting as it could have been if it was written in the right genre. Like if this was actually a thriller story and the author attempted to thrill the reader throughout the entire book, I feel like I would have enjoyed this more, but it was more like domestic than anything. And then at the end, it kind of ends on like a little plot twist and you're just like, the book is over. So yeah, it just was so boring for majority of it, and I just was not interested. The next one is one that I picked up as soon as it came out. I think I read 20 pages of it and just never went back to it. I don't remember those 20 pages even being interesting, so I'll probably never will return back to it, and that is going to be Poster Girl by Veronica Roth. I've only successfully read one book by Veronica Roth, and that was Chosen Ones. And I have been waiting years for the damn sequel to be announced because I really need the author to write the damn sequel to Chosen Ones. And instead of doing that, she released Poster Girl, and I was just so confused because like we still don't have any information on the first book. And I wasn't gonna like read Poster Girl, but it was a part of like my book subscription, so I got it, and I was like, I don't know, I think I was just too upset. I was too mad because I want Chosen Ones too. I didn't ask for no damn Poster Girl. I don't care about her. Can you write the sequel to Chosen Ones? Okay, that book ends on like one of the biggest cliffhangers that I've read in so long, and I'm still not okay. Okay, that cliffhanger unraveled me, and I need the sequel ASAP. I didn't ask for no damn Poster Girl. The next one is a book that I tried to read recently and I DNF'd, and I know for sure that I am not going to return to it. The writing style is not for me, and so I don't see myself being captivated by the story, and that is going to be Hamnet. I was very excited for this one, and I really wanted to love it, but just recently with all like the successful and failures that I've had with my reads, I'm usually very excited about a book because of the premise, and I don't take into account the potential writing style that the author is going to use to tell the story. And that can take a story that I'm very excited about, that's a 5-star prediction that I think I'm going to love, that can make me dislike it if it's written in a style that is not my preference. And that's literally what happened with Hamnet. And you really can't predict the authorial voice that an author is going to use in a story, and it can really make or break a book for me, and that's just the truth of the matter. And then the next one is a series that I just don't foresee myself going back to. If I did, it would be on audio, so I don't need to actually own the books, and that is going to be Skyward. This was literally the one book that I read by Brandon Sanderson that I actually really enjoyed, and I wanted to go into Starsight, and I was very excited, but then there just became this like requirement to read like in between novellas, and it got beyond me, and I wasn't invested enough for you to force me to read additional stories. That's just not my forte. Like, if an author writes a novella in between actual books, then I want it to be optional. I want it to be additional, like, time in the story, additional time with the characters, but I just don't like for there to be vital context in a novella that forces me to read it, because then I feel like a lot of my sovereignty over my reading, a lot of my autonomy over my reading is too much of it is being taken away from me. That's just not my preference. That's not how I like to read books. And so yeah, I typically, unless I absolutely love the series, even then, I'm lying to you. There's never been a series with a novella in the middle that I've read, even when I freaking love it. Every single time that I see a novella in between, I skip right over it. Novellas are just not my preference of reading. I'm not a big novella fan, and if I do pick up one, I want it to be on my own choice. I don't like to be forced. That's really just what killed my interest in this series, if I'm being honest with you. That happens to me a lot. I recently talked about that and like my issues with Joe Abercrombie and like me being forced to read so many standalones in between. I don't like that. Like, I like continuity in the actual canon series, and then I want any other novella or standalone to be just additional stories for me to enjoy. I don't like being forced. Sorry. And then the last book that I'm going to be unhauling is Juniper and Thorn by Ava Reed. I tried to read The Wolf and the Woodsman, and I DNF'd it. I did not find it interesting at all. I thought it was very boring. I had this on a TBR. I think it was like earlier this year or late last year. It was on a TBR for me. I read like 40 pages of it, and I was also very disinterested. I put it down like after my first session, and I thought that I was gonna go back, but it's literally been like 5 months and I haven't returned. And so yeah, I'm just gonna be honest with myself to say that I don't think Ava Reed is for me. It could be the retellings, or I don't know what it is about the writing in the book, but yeah, I just wasn't interested, so I'm gonna be unhauling this one as well. That felt rather painless and quick. I usually don't like to film unhauls because I don't feel like I have enough to say about why I'm unhauling them. I typically do it as a mood, like I see a book and I'm just like unhauling it, so I never do like one big unhaul. I unhaul books 1 or 3 at a time. This was the first time since my last official unhaul that I combed through my shelves and actually pulled out enough books for me to sit down and talk to you guys about, because by the time I pull 1 here, 2 there, 1 there, 3 there typically just isn't enough on my shelf for me to actually sit down and do a video for. So thank you guys for joining me today, and as usual, I will see you in my next video.